the AI algorithms are more intelligent than humans.
And humans get used to beautiful, simple, and useful technologies very quickly. And that technology already exists, it's just a question of implementing it. I don't feel so scared about it, I'm more excited about it. I feel like this is the future that I want to personally live in.
Then they can do a lot of things that human does not have any control over, and then they can make their own decision. But can that be a threat as well?
Yes, there is a potential for threat, there's a potential disaster that AI can cause onto it, but right now the biggest disasters on the planet are the humans themselves.
Coming back to your question, if it creates any threat, if
right.
AI intelligence can create a threat for humanity, I'm thinking that the difference between human and AI is that humans have emotions. That is why we make so many mistakes and conflicts. For example, how AI is driven by the energy, right? So if we find a way how to stop at one point AI to be charged by this energy, so we need to create kind of button. If something goes wrong, so someone can just stop, completely switch off of all the AI machine, of all the energy source and electricity. So I think that like now there is a threat that, we have a button for nuclear, and then if we create the same button just to off all the energy sources, if we have the way how to switch it off, for example, and then in 6-12 hours everything stops, then we can prevent this threat.
Somehow we are going back to the having control over.
I think this is where we're making sort of a big mistake. And once again, I don't have all the answers. So there's two separate points of views. One, I recently listened to a really interesting podcast by a CEO of Google, or one of the previous CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt. And on the other side, there's this, I believe he was CEO of the business side of Google at some point as well, Mo Gaudat. He wrote a book called Scary Smart. So both of them right now have big opinions about AI. Some of it are joint in terms of what's going to happen, but some of it is completely different. So on one side, he talked about this button, switching it off. Yes, you can switch off the server and get the AI not to do certain things. Yes, that's absolutely possible. But I feel like at a certain time frame, that will not be possible. The reason I say that is in this Scary Smart book that Mo Gaudat wrote, he said that you have to realize that every country is developing this AI, and one way or another, they will create their own ultimate version of that. And the race is on. So whether you want to slow down or not, other countries wouldn't care. Because whoever comes up with this big thing will probably dominate the next century with the technology, with the intelligence, with the know-how, and everything else. So the way you should look at it, and this is where the human ego feels threatened, is once the intelligence of the AI in the next 5 years reaches beyond our understanding, the AI is going to look at us as if we're a fly, right? So imagine the way we look at the fly, and this is Mo Gaudat's analogy from that. The way we look at this fly is like, it's just a bug, right? And if it threatens us or does some noise in us, we might kill it, just because it just makes some noise, right? But we're so much more superior and intelligent than that other species that we don't really care about it, because we are going on about our life the way it is. So AI can get to a point where it's so intelligent, it's the Einstein of the new world, and as long as we don't disrupt the AI, it will let us live. Meaning, if we give the abundance of energy sources and don't touch the data centers so that they can operate and become smarter and smarter and smarter, they will let us be the humans. But as long as we don't interrupt with it. So that's one of the dystopian, crazy kind of analogy that could happen. And from that point of view, you can't have an unplug, because the beauty of with software and internet, it can just replicate itself somewhere else. So how are you going to even stop it? I have no idea.
I mean, we are creating all this AI, and then the one who will be fighting with this, our kids. So we are creating for our future generations this like huge kind of like a solution, but also a threat.
Well, I heard even a bigger thing than that. I heard that we're in this pivotal point where human race might even split into two. One that does the Neuralink, essentially you'll be able to embed those AI machines or the thinking processes in your brain, and the ones who don't. And evolution shows that as long as you are the strongest, more powerful, more intelligent, you're the one who survive. So we might even have that split coming very soon.
Yeah, I mean, one of our professor at Imperial, right? He was talking about the AI evolution, and he was saying it's not beginning, it's not end, it's beginning of end. So the party is just getting started. But I think talking about the race that you mentioned, that everyone is doing it. So if somebody thinks, okay, it could be a threat to humanity, so we should lay back and let's not jump in the race. So having more control over these technologies makes some people more powerful and dangerous in a way. So what do you think about that? I mean, having exclusive access to this magical power, which might, like you were saying, that AI might let us live, which is kind of a bizarre statement because we are talking about God. So what do you think about that? The exclusivity part.
Right. Look, very interesting topic, first of all. I mean, Elon Musk joked about this closed AI, open AI, asking them to rename the company because they definitely are not being open AI by definition of how they started. Obviously, things change. I understand that entrepreneurial journey can be different. Companies pivot from one idea to another. Those things happen. But there's many other companies who are right now developing different versions. The one that's apparently the most open right now is the Facebook version, the Lambda. So they're trying to create a true open source, and there's a few other ones who have implemented different versions. Google has a Gemini, there's Anthropic. I'm pretty sure that there's some dominant other ones that we have never heard of that being developed in Asia or other markets that we will soon hear about in a big time. In terms of exclusivity and inclusivity of this technology, I mean, even right now, the ChatGPT version that we're seeing, we think that we're seeing the latest version. That version is outdated probably by a year. What they have, you have no clue what they have right now. And that version will always going to be lagging behind because the businesses and dominant sources of power will never want to share that. It's just a human nature, unfortunately, to be able to always keep things secretive, have the power and have the dominance. It's almost like in Los Alamos, a race for the nuclear power. When the Germany and the USA were fighting and they had a big war, essentially whoever created the nuclear war was going to win it. Fortunately, at that time, Los Alamos and the physicists and engineers and people who worked on that, they have developed that. Yeah, the Oppenheimer moment, obviously they have misused it and then created a huge tragedy, but this is almost the same kind of thing, but a lot of experts saying that's even more dangerous in many, many different ways. So yes, unfortunately, it is going to happen that majority of the people who miss out on this or don't have access to this will probably miss out on a lot of opportunities in life or opportunities to make money, but they're also trying to implement certain things like universal basic income, which I don't know if it will work. It sounds too good to be true. Only the future will tell. But if I can encourage you to be part of this AI revolution and evolution, I would definitely encourage you to try to do something in that space, because the two industries that I feel like are the most exciting in the next 5-10 years, which will define the rest of the century, is this clean energy and the AI. And they go hand in hand. AI can help us make the optimization better, make energy trading better, figure out better sources of energy, find better materials, abundance, make them cheaper, and get to a point where electricity is free. Right. This is, I know it sounds like a bizarre statement, but in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll have an opportunity to make electricity free, truly free. And on the other hand, information and intelligence can become free. So imagine giving the whole world, the whole society of the human race, free energy and free information. That abundance can create an incredible human civilization.
But I just still worried that AI also creates such a huge threat for customers' data protection. Because imagine when we are using same ChatGPT, we just upload all our thoughts, all our emails, all the data. Sometimes I just I just ask some information, and then it still remembers what I was requesting a few days ago, and then it recalls the information which was used before, and then it gives me the new information based on the machine learning which it did before. So basically, AI knows everything about me, and if this information goes to the let's see, few people who are basically then ruling the world, who have the information about everyone.
We are already, when it comes to data, we are already naked. Meaning all of our data is already owned by somebody else. Like you are under illusion if you think you own your data, because you don't. If you have an Apple, all of your photos, all of your beautiful pictures are in the hands of Apple.
No way, I need to delete.
Well, a bit too late because it's already in the cloud, stored and backed up thousands of times. All of your emails are read by Google. Not saying that they're sitting down and reading every single one of your email, but they have access to all of those things. Your bank has all of the information about your bank and transactions, who you're paying, where did you travel, what. So you're already naked when it comes to your data. It's just what's happening now, AI aggregates this data and creates a picture about you and knows everything, not only what you're sending, where you took pictures, how you spent, but also what are you interested in? How can I trigger you? How can I sell you more things or make you want to do things the way I want to do things? This is where things become super interesting for the people who are making the products, and where things become uncomfortable for the humans, because they're like, wait, how am I going to prevent this from happening when it knows me better than I do? Like an example, I don't know if you saw on the Black Mirror, there was this really cool episode, one of the latest ones, is where AI thinks that you're interested to watch on a Friday evening at 8 p.m. and it creates a TV series based on your preferences in real life. And you have a different TV series and I have a different series. So we're all watching Squid Game, but that's interested for you, and for me. And everything is customized. Yeah. That's the scary part. But at the same time, maybe we will love it. I don't know.
Yeah, we will get addicted to it because it's customized, and it's customized to your preferences.
Exactly.
I was just reading this book recently. I don't remember the name, but it talked about how AI algorithms will be the decision makers of the future, which means, let's say, for example, one AI algorithm reads the news, right?
I heard that too.
Right. It flags it as a political violence. Then it decides that, there would be a economic crash in the stock market. So it sort of sells the stocks, and then, you see a stock market crash, right? So I think all those scenarios, right, I think in general are very scary, to be honest, because it's easy for us to see that, okay, everything is autonomous, we don't have a control over it, and AI is super intelligent, it's deciding for us, right? So all these scenarios, they get you thinking that what will happen to us, where we will, like, for example, I might say that, I'm a stock market expert, I can make money, but then there will be a better decision maker. So where will I stand, right? So I think somehow it will also replace a lot of things that human beings are capable of and are experts in. What do you think about that? AI replacing the current experts that we have,
Look, I heard an argument recently on I think it was one of the Joe Rogan podcasts as well, where they're saying that there's a need, and governments are already thinking of developing governing AI, meaning there's going to be part of AI, part of government, where the decision making will be made by AI, right, at least giving choices so that the ruler, the president, or the government can make the decision. But at least the choices going to be provided without any emotion, truly logical, truly based on economics and numbers and data and trends by an AI. Right. Maybe that is the way we go forward. For example, certain industries will get disrupted immediately, and the other ones will take a long time. I was recently listening to another episode where they talked about what are the key industries that will get disrupted immediately versus that will take another 10, 15, 20 years.
Oh, which were there?
Everything to do with mathematics and reading big amount of text are gonna get destroyed very quickly. So unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say that, people who study law and things like that are probably finance to some extent too, yes. Anything to do with calculating, and reading a lot of things and accumulating information and then making the decision will probably get wiped out very, very quickly. Because what is a legal document? Or what is a lawyer's job? Is to read a legal document, understand the complex language, understand complex terms, take a lot of 16, 17 different terms in your head and make a final decision to say, we should take that deal or we shouldn't take that deal. We should change that term. I think 10% is not good. We should do 16%. Then we will have a biggest profit margin because I've calculated that on the behalf of a client. Right. So that does not need to be done by a human being. That can be done by an AI. But what can legal firms or lawyers in the future do? Still present. Right. They can still probably present and have that human touch, which is right now irreplaceable. So that's one of the industry disruptions that I see in terms of the quickest ones. The ones that are human driven, probably not going to get replaced for the next 10 years. For example, if you live in Argentina, right. And you want to take people showing the mountains and you want to have the camping experience. So anything to do with wild nature, right. with human touch, and with, once again, the nature part is still going to be available for humans anywhere for the next 10, 15 years, I believe. But the technical, methodological, analytical things, they're all going to be replaced. And they should get replaced so that humans can focus on the creative parts.
Even spiritual, like by AI. Imagine how many meditations now, everything also AI implemented.
That's why I think the AI right now, I'm not sure is reaching its potential. I haven't seen it yet. I think the emotion and spirituality is not where AI has a strong suit yet. And I don't think people are even developing those technologies. Right now, the brutal force and money focused is on intelligence because that's where money is made. Right. Where the spiritual and emotional parts come in, I feel like they still have a human touch to it, which is, we don't even know what spirituality is. We have an analogy of it, but intellect is easier to measure. You can measure. Emotion is harder to measure. But I also heard an argument by Mo Gaudat, once again in Scary Smart, saying AI has a possibility to have way more emotions than we do. Just because you can program a broad spectrum of emotion and it can have fluctuation between this emotion. Whether it understands and perceives it the way we do, it's a different question, but you can code that in.
I also heard that AI caused few suicides because young people were talking to AI. For example, younger men talking to the AI like it was a real woman.
For the dating one, right?
Yeah, for the dating one.
Have you seen the movie called Her?
Yeah.
I can see that happening now. It probably is happening now, but it's becoming a true reality. People will be having relationship with AI because it will comfort you and say the right things that you want to hear and please you in any way that you want. But is that real? I don't know. Every human needs to make their own choices. At the end of the day, you can't replace the human touch.
That's true, but people who have very unstable mental mindset, they may go for it.
Sure.
But I think, so in general, what we can say about AI is that it will definitely make our lives better, but also complicate. And we need to come up with some new ways so that we can adopt it. But I think we kind of touched upon clean energy, information, AI. And then we talked in the clean energy, we talked about solar, wind, batteries. Yep. What about nuclear energy? Do you think it's a good alternative? Why certain countries are going towards nuclear energy and why countries like UK, they are not doing it? And is nuclear energy the next big thing? Can it be a good alternative to what we were talking about, oil and let's say traditional form of energy?
I'm not an expert on nuclear. During my course, I specialized mostly on solar energy, specifically transparent solar cells, and the perovskite solar cells is where I would say I have more knowledge about it, but obviously I understand what nuclear has in terms of its capabilities, and it's been a proven technology. Obviously, there were some disasters that happened in the history, but technology have become tremendously safer, way better. Right. And as a statistic, what's happening with the Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, each of them are looking to implement huge amount of money into the small nuclear reactors. They call them Generation 3 and Generation 4 to have the data centers that have tremendous amount of energy requirement powered by nuclear power. The reason they're doing that is because they want to have carbon-free energy. It still is way cleaner than using oil and gas. It still has way higher conversion than solar, wind, and batteries in terms of production and storage, but it comes with its own, obviously, deficiency. People, as soon as they hear nuclear, they think it's an atomic bomb, it's dangerous. It's not always true because generation 3 and generation 4 are becoming safer, but right. People's connotation with nuclear is still dangerous because of the waste. The waste material is going to be toxic for thousands of years, but it does have tremendous amount of power. Huge amount of consumption of energy for the data centers can be done with nuclear. My view on nuclear, it's possible. I think there's better ways of doing things, but for big generators, you might want to look at nuclear. Hopefully one way or another, in the distant future, we will find solar fusion as one of the sources of energy, but that still hasn't been cracked in the last 50, 80 years.
What do you mean by solar fusion? Can you elaborate on that?
So humans have discovered two ways of making power out of atoms. One simple one is fission. So that's the nuclear power. You take a big atom like uranium and you start splitting it. You essentially bombard other neutrons or protons and you split it. You make it smaller and smaller and smaller. In the process of making them smaller and smaller and smaller, while you're splitting those atoms, a small amount of energy gets released. But small amount of energy multiplied by billions and trillions is tremendous amount of energy. That's what nuclear bombs are. Nuclear power is essentially a controlled bomb. Right. That's why they're dangerous and that's why they have so much power. You just bombard it, it releases energy in the form of heat. You take that heat and you turn it into, by boiling water, you turn it into a gas. That gas, it becomes a turbine, that turbine turns into electricity, and voila, you have a nuclear power station that creates you beautiful, clean, carbon-free electricity by boiling water through this heat. So this is nuclear fission. Right. Nuclear fusion is what's happening in our sun. So that's the tremendous amount of power that luckily our star is burning and producing every single day, day and night. What it does, it takes small atoms, hydrogen atoms, bombards them into each other and actually tries to join them together. While it's joining, it actually releases a lot of energy, heat, that can be captured. So right now, scientists, physicists, engineers are trying to figure out how to encapsulate that energy and keep it stable. They're essentially trying to create a small star that they're trying to contain on the planet Earth to be able to provide infinite amount of energy or close to infinite amount of energy.
That's amazing.
Once we get to fusion, I believe we might not even need solar, wind, and battery in nuclear altogether. We might need a battery just for the storage, but the fusion will probably unlock everything. That's when the possibilities of AI and quantum computing will become a reality.
Yeah, I think fusion will be able also to run the planes and rockets.
I'm not sure about that. I would love to see that. In terms of the power generation, yes, but containment is very difficult because they're right now heavy. You have to have magnetic field around it. So then they're not light materials. They're big kind of constructions and they weigh tons.
But there are already planes which are run by batteries, right?
Batteries, yes, but they're not powered by fusion. They're powered by a certain electrical current that's just been generated by whatever source of energy.
I also want to speak more about ecosystem in energy, which you are planning to create in terms of localization of energy. Mm-hmm. For example, everyone will be able to be a prosumer, as well as every city will have like local authorization for using the energy, and then, for example, energy trading, which will also basically will be locally, because you cannot transfer energy abroad so far, I guess, because there will be a lot of governmental restrictions. But tell us more, how do you see the future in energy ecosystems?
Well, think of energy as if you're growing plants. I highly recommend everyone does that. Essentially, it's like a little tool. You put it comes with seeds already that you order from their website. They come in there, you fill in the water. It has an automatic way of having solar penetration into it or light, or with different wavelengths to make sure that that specific crop grows faster. So yeah, I've been using it for quite a while. I absolutely love it. So back to the analogy. Imagine being able to grow your own fruits and vegetables in the same way with local energy production, or with decentralized energy. You'll be able to create your own sources of energy. Keep it within the frames of your house, or be able to share it with your neighbors. The governments or the countries can have many of those sources created for other sources of energy, not just solar, but solar is just the easiest one to get anywhere because all you need is the solar panels and batteries, which are getting thinner and smaller anyway. For countries who are developing, a great example for that will be in India. India is a massive country, huge amount of population, and putting wires through the roads and digging holes and putting the wires through other cities to connect one another just to transmit electricity, I feel like it's a very stupid way of doing things. The analogy for that is the internet once again. The way we used to do broadband connection, and it's still done to a largely extent, even in the UK, we dig roads, we put wires, we put copper wires or whatever the broadband wires, hyper optics and things like that that have high speed, but we're still doing it through a mechanical source. Elon Musk has created a very simple company as part of SpaceX called Starlink. Right now, you can order Starlink in United States and some parts of UK as well, where they give you this router and you get satellite energy. So you get energy from the space. No wires, nothing. Just one tool, one device, receive the internet any way you like. So the same thing can happen with energy. You can have a device that's going to be plugged into your home and you can receive solar energy wherever you like. Then you can send it to your friend, donate it to a charity, share it with your husband or wife, and then be able to even support your potential son or daughter in college and pay their semesters of energy by sending it and transferring it through internet.
Wow.
It's a real evolution.
It's happening.
I mean, when you talk about all these innovations that are happening, it's sort of also a positive thing because here in UK, that's a big problem. UK right now is going through energy crisis after 2021. It's just, the prices have shot up like anything. If you have to give tips to people how they can become self-reliant, how they can be the real prosumers. So you right now you are becoming the prosumer of both energy and your own vegetables. So for you the world is different. But for normal people, what would you advise? Like for example, me, I'm very worried about my energy bill. I want a clean energy future. I want something of a high and advanced technology. I want it to be user friendly. But I don't know how I'm going to do it and how I'm going to manage my electricity bills.
Look, it's a tricky question. Every person has a different need in terms of the energy consumption. It also depends on your sort of house or building constraints. I mean, the simplest form would be, I would suggest investing into solar and battery storage systems. If you have a car, find a way to get an electric vehicle. They are becoming cheaper and cheaper every year, especially if you live in cities like London. You don't pay for congestion charges. The charging your electric vehicle is a lot cheaper, although the charging points are the problem for many customers. They are installing so many of them. And once again, once we get to this wireless power transmission, which is, I believe, is going to happen very soon as well, you won't have that problem of plugging your electric vehicle.
Imperial College actually is doing some technology for extension where you can use one socket for multiple cars. So they're already doing it. So I think this problem will be solved very soon.
But I think to some extent, I think now there is a general understanding that the infrastructure related to electrical vehicles and the charging, it has to be standardized so that everyone it's like a public service.
Yeah.
So in India, there was a lot of discussion around it because in India, this infrastructure is not ready. So people charge their electrical vehicles mainly at home, and even the charging stations are very distant. What do you think about standardizing the infrastructure? How important is it? And Are there any limitation restrictions that you think currently we are facing, as an industry when you look at the electrical vehicles?
I recently went to an EV show conference, where they had huge electric vehicle charging stations all over the conference, and they were for big trucks, small cars, every shape and size. Right now, the standardization came through the plug. So plug in itself is quite ubiquitous. Pretty much every car and truck has the same socket. So that's already happening, and they're having the same kind of input and output technology to making sure that everyone has the same thing. I believe we'll probably get to a point where we'll have two systems similar to Android and iOS in our phone market, something similar in the electric vehicle market.
Biggest players?
Two big players, or a few of them will have this or that application of that or this software of that, and then everyone will be able to use it.
Yeah, I think it's now the problem that it's running by multiple companies, and for example, you need to have so many apps, and every time you want to charge a car, you need there is a few applications which allow you to find the nearest station. Yeah, but then you basically, every time you find a free charger station, then you need to download a new app, then you need to put all the information, data, and for some chargers, for some charging stations, you still need to get a card. If I'm not mistaken, there was this source where you need to have a card. If you don't have the card, you can't charge your car. So this is also something where we should focus how to develop this infrastructure so more people purchase electric cars.
I'm pretty sure somebody will aggregate them. It's going to happen. Somebody will aggregate them all together, and then you will have 2 or 3 of simple apps or softwares or hardwares to have use cases for pretty much every truck, every car, every type of electric vehicle that's going to be on the road.
Right. Another question that I was just having in my mind is related to a seasonal dependency of energy sources like solar. So here in UK, the weather now it's winter, so we don't get so much. We don't get sunlight in abundance. It's only for few hours in a day we'll get some sunlight. So what do you think about countries like UK, which has a seasonal pattern to the weather, and it just for some seasons it's not possible to get that much sunlight? So how can they cope up with the solar energy, and how can they maintain the production in all the seasons?
Okay. I think that's I would say a typical misconception about UK and some countries that don't have an exposure to a lot of sunlight. So first of all, sun is there every day, right? Whether it's for a few hours, for a lot of hours, depending on what country you are, it does show up every day, right? The planet spins and we're able to get ourselves exposed to solar energy anyway. The second point I was going to make is, even if it's cloudy and we don't have the best weather around the world compared to the rest of the world in the UK, many of the wavelengths go past through the clouds anyway. The human eye perceives a very tiny fraction of the sunlight that is invisible spectrum of the light.
Right.
So invisible spectrum of the light, ultraviolet or infrared, all of the things that we don't see, animals or insects can actually perceive that, still goes through that. And you can still capture that. No cloud is going to prevent that from happening. Yes, this visible spectrum of light probably doesn't have the huge penetration of it, but you can still have a tremendous amount of it captured even on a cloudy day. And even if it doesn't sunshine sort of 12 or 16 hours that other countries do. The countries that have the most amount of sun, yes, they can obviously capture the huge amount of that, not only the sun, but also heat. They can capture the heat and turn that into electricity, capture the sunlight and turn that into electricity too. So UK's problem is not the sunlight. UK's problem is to implementing those technologies and solutions at mass scale. And they can do that.
So I think that the problem also not only in the sunlight, but also in the length of the day, because if the day is too short, I think now it's like December, and in Finland, how long day do you have at the moment? It's like a polar night now, so there is zero sun. So I think that there is no way that you can have a sunlight. How do you charge the solar panels in this case?
Yeah, I mean, we need a better technology, especially, what you mentioned about the different wavelengths and what we see and what we don't see. So I think the technologies, if they are there, then definitely we can use solar power. But, talking about the clean energy space, what do you think we will be able to achieve by year 2030?
By the way, in terms of the Finland and other countries that might not have a lot of solar exposure, there is a solution. It's a bit far-fetched, but it's possible. Imagine this. Imagine sending a satellite out in space, right? So here's the planet Earth. You send the satellite here, and means that the satellite can always receive solar energy at all times, right?
Right.
There's no absorption, there's no clouds. It doesn't really spin. I mean, it spins, but around the planet Earth, but in such way that it always sees the sun. So it can receive the solar energy in such way that can absorb a lot of it at all times.
Right.
And then you can beam that electricity or that energy back to Earth. And there's got to be a receiver that captures that. Essentially, you're going to be taking a beam of laser and shooting it all the way down to Earth, and then you have a receiver that receives that energy and converts that into electricity. Very dangerous, super risky, but tremendously efficient. They're actually testing something like that in Japan.
So Nadal, how did you come up with the idea to build ecosystem in energy?
Look, I don't want to take all the credit to myself. There's a lot of other smart people on the planet Earth who invent things, who come up with ideas. I just happen to read a lot of those things. I'm an extremely curious person. Luckily for me, I came across this organization called Rethink X. And there's an amazing co-founder, or one of the co-founders, called Tony Seba. I've read all of his books at this point. I've read all of their white papers on their website and everything available. One of the most amazing books that I have read from Tony Seba was Solar Trillions. He wrote that book, I believe, 12 years ago, where he predicted that solar energy is going to become the cheapest source of energy. And at that time, everyone laughed at him. And they said, that will never happen. You're living in some sort of a cuckoo land. That will never happen. It's just too expensive. It's too heavy. The solar panels will never get to that efficiency. And look where we're at now. 2024, the cheapest source of energy by generation is solar. And it's gonna become 80% more cheaper. In that book, he wrote about this future where, just like iTunes revolutionized and changed the music industry by creating a product called iPod, which carried 1,000 songs in your pocket, and they created this ecosystem or a software called iTunes, which had an ability to sell music, buy music, and store music. One day somebody will come up with a solution like this in energy space.
That's a great example.
Where you'll be able to produce, store, buy, sell, all of those things on the internet. Once I read that, I figured out, well, I might as well build that. It sounds truly inspiring because not only are you building something that's needed, you're able to take care of humanity, you'd be able to take care of the planet Earth, and you can also innovate and disrupt. All of those things sounded like music to me.
Seems we are heading to the smarter future.
We are. We're on the right trajectory. We just need to make sure that we don't mess the plan that has been created for us, and accelerate that clean energy transition, accelerate the AI, join the two together and build the prosperity.
Yeah, so to finalize, what is your plan? Tell us, please.
My plan is to try to make this happen as quick as possible with my mission with Zeal. Hence, I'm trying to get more people learning those things. Hence, I'm trying to organize these hackathons with Rethink X and Zeal at MBA, at Imperial, bringing the STEM, the scientists, the engineers, but also the business brain. Because you need to have the cross-sector innovation happening. And that's the most important thing. It's not just, energy people just deal with energy and business people deal with business. No, it's all coming together. And in tandem, you can achieve so much more. So my kind of mission is to try to inspire more people to go on that journey. My personal mission with Zeal is to try to accelerate what I call democratizing near zero cost clean energy to billions of people around the world.
Yeah, and we are so sure that it will happen, and we wish you all the best with this, with your greatest mission.
Yeah, all the best. I think it was great to hear and know your imagination and the thoughts that you have. And I think we have kind of covered a lot of bases today. Thanks, Nadal. Thank you for coming. It was really interesting to know your thoughts and brainstorm about how the future of energy will look like, and thoughts about rethink X and how a normal person like me can access to all the knowledge that you have. I think it was really amazing. We wish all the best for your hackathon and the future at Zeal, and we wish that you come back to the podcast again. So thank you for coming today.
Yes, and we believe that you definitely will create this evolution in energy.
Thank you guys. Very kind of you. I had a blast of a time. I would be more than happy to come again, have more in-depth conversations about the AI, the future of energy, and in future we can have even more fruitful conversations about how we're going to evolve. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.